This is the final hour of OverDrive here on this Tuesday afternoon. Korolnek, Feschuk, and DeStefano in for the usual crew, who I think are back next week. It's good news for everybody involved, but it's great to be spending these 3 hours with you fine gentlemen. We have Confirmer tonight in about 5 minutes. We'll talk to Ben Verlander from Fox Sports in about 30 minutes. We should bring up your encounter, which was rather intense with the legend Rod Smith in the hallways before the show commenced. Michael, your nemesis, Rod Smith.
My nemesis. He's not my nemesis. Okay. I respect Rod Smith. Let's put that out there. However, and you can be here to attest to this, he congratulated me on my championship win.
He did.
Is that a concession from Team O'Win Willson? The head honcho congratulated me on our championship win for Team.
So let me. You forgot what your team name was called?
So I was going to say Owl Dogs. I said that for so long. Right. Like, no, it's not. It's
so he is conceding that the regular season meant nothing. And the playoffs
does mean nothing. Go tell the Maple Leafs that.
All 18 weeks or whatever it is.
That's right. All 82 games. What does that mean for the Maple Leafs?
Equating a gambling season to a National Hockey League season,
It's the same. It's the same.
I think you guys were down a few units, if I was calculating correctly.
It's okay. You'll be back next year. NFL draft.
We were down units.
Perhaps?
They just were up so hard. We were above 500. Don't get me wrong. We were up, like in literal betting terms.
You were betting against them, though. So aren't you sort of down?
No.
Okay. Semantics, Dave.
No.
Come on. The Raptors were 16-point underdogs last night in Denver. They were playing without more than half of their roster. Grady Dick was the longest tenured Raptor on the court for the team last night. He was drafted last year. So you look at this game last night against the Nuggets, where you're like, all right, the Raptors are going to lose by 50, maybe 60. And they have a 22-point lead with 7 minutes left in the third quarter. I'm sitting there flabbergasted because on this very radio show yesterday, I basically said, don't bother watching. They're going to get absolutely hammered.
I was in the car. I heard you make that.
I'm like, there's no chance. What a waste of time. Why are we even airing this game? And of course, I mean, they couldn't miss in the first half. They scored 68 on Denver.
Good game.
And you're like, oh my God, are the Raptors going to upset the reigning NBA champions? And then Nikola Jokic has one of the all-time quarters. 19 points. 4 boards, 4 assists, 4 steals in the third quarter. Completely
unstoppable.
Tilts the court in Denver's favor, and they end up winning and beating the Raptors. Respectable loss, though.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This is almost best case scenario for if you are the Raptors, though. Like if you're looking to have a dignified tank, you want to lose games, you want to make sure that you can hang on to that draft pick. If that's what you want to do, games like this where you're competitive, you get to see your young players play well, hit some shots, but ultimately you don't pick up the win, and you play against that's the defending world champ.
Amazing team,
quality team.
I think it's Denver and Boston, the class of the NBA right now.
And you legitimately take them all the way down to the final couple minutes of the fourth quarter. Final minute.
Without any of your best players, save R.J. Barrett and Kelly Olynyk.
Yeah.
Outside.
R.J. had a hell of a game.
He was great.
He was the only starter in that game. R.J. Barrett was the only starter in that game. I thought, to see Grady Dick shooting the ball the way he was last night was a good sign, but off the dribble, off the pass, he was shooting with some confidence. There was one that he had, I think it was in the second quarter, with hand in his face, and he's just like, I'm going to pull up and hit this, and he did. It's like, okay, that's what they saw out of him in college that made him get drafted so early. If that's a Grady Dick that can be on this team moving forward, they got a piece here.
No, they got a piece, and look, you can look at all the silver linings. Like R.J. Barrett played well, and hey, he showed that he's not just a head down, stubborn driver. He had 9 assists, and Darko's been talking to him, trying to model his game after Manu Ginobili, just shooting for the Hall of Fame. Why go lower than that? And those are all good things. But I mean, it was kind of comical when you listen to the Nuggets after the game. They basically, Michael Malone, the head coach, is on there saying, well, we saw that, they didn't have Scotty Barnes, they didn't have Poeltl, they didn't have Gary Trent, they didn't have Quickly. And we basically, human nature is human nature. We thought we could beat him without even trying. And then we started trying, and then we beat him.
Yeah,
that's
I think it was
how it went.
61-34. Denver outscored Toronto when they were down 22.
I mean, the betting line, somebody was looking at the live betting line, and it was like, even when the Raptors were up 22, they were only slight favorites.
And I think Vegas was onto something.
Yeah.
When you consider the contrast in quality between those two teams, that were on the floor last night. But Al's brother, I think you're on to something. Excuse me, Michael DiStefano. I think you're on to something where, I mean, like the Raptors play Detroit tomorrow night, and they've already ruled RJ Barrett out. Maybe it's like, all right, no more wins here.
Look.
And so they're a game up on, or game
Memphis.
down, depending on how you look at it, to Memphis for the 6th spot. And just because the Raptors finished 7th doesn't mean they can't keep their draft pick. It just reduces the likelihood statistically, right? 6th worst record in the NBA is a 46% chance at keeping a top 6 pick.
Yeah.
7th worst is a 32% chance.
Right.
So it's just about lottery balls. But I imagine the Raptors want to increase their likelihood as much as possible. And holding RJ Barrett out tomorrow against Detroit is a good way to do that.
Yeah, and I know there's been a lot of debate about should they try and get the pick this year, and obviously the lottery has to fall their way for them to do that, or should they wait for it to be next year and give it to the Spurs then, because this is all tied to obviously getting Poeltl at last year's trade deadline, which looks like a worse and worse move. Anyway, you slice it. But I'm in the camp of get the player as soon as possible. I understand this draft is not as highly thought of, but if you saw it last night, you've seen it, you know who they have. Grady Dick's their longest tenured player on the floor last night. They need talent. They need it now. They don't need it next year. They need it as soon as possible. So you got to trust your scouts that you can find a guy, even if it's not the greatest draft in the history of the sport. And if you don't trust your scouts that they can find a guy, you got to get new scouts. So, and like they just don't have enough guys right now.
Well,
and that's not going to change until they get more.
If memory serves, 2013 was a bad draft. That was a terrible draft. That was when the Canadian
Anthony Bennett from Syracuse, I believe.
But guess who was also in that draft?
Giannis
Antetokounmpo.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Exactly.
There
You know,
go.
so like, no, obviously, are you going to find
That's
a
a
Giannis
stretch.
here?
That's a
No.
stretch.
But what I mean
How do
is
you know?
like,
You don't know.
You never know.
The Raptors have a good draft track record. I think I'll give it to them. And early in the season, Grady Dick looked like he was going to be a complete and utter bust. And he has come on in the second half and looks like he's going to be a player. And he was a late lottery pick. And who knows? We'll see what the Raptors can find here.
Yeah, no, look, it's all about, you're right, it's about development. It's obviously about a not so subtle tank. This is very reminiscent of the Tampa tank year.
This is going to be
that produced Scotty Barnes.
This is going to be some serious tanking down the stretch here.
Yeah.
The Raptors have some really good opponents coming to town, too. The Lakers will be here. Oklahoma City will be here. So there's some good games to schedule on the to circle on the calendar, but you might be watching a lot of Ochai Ubaji as opposed to Barnes and Poeltl and the guys you actually want to see.
Hey, Jonte Porter, you know, last night, the brother of Michael Porter Jr., the starter in Denver, had a nice game, made a few threes.
That was a cool little jersey swap they did after the game, too.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, and tomorrow, Detroit's won 2 of their last 3. Detroit's going in the wrong direction.
How many games in a row did Detroit lose earlier this season?
28
games. And the
beat the
Raptors
Raps.
are 2.5-point dogs to a team that lost 28 games in a row earlier this season.
And they made the OG trade the next day, too, I believe.
It's a tough
that was they used the OG trade as an excuse.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly it. All right, it is time for Confirm or Deny.
I can neither confirm or deny that this is in fact a segment.
Austin trades Andrew Raycroft to Toronto in exchange for the rights to Tuukka Rask.
It's been my honor and a privilege to serve as the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs Hockey Club.
It's time for Confirm or Deny.
Do you regret giving all those gentlemen the no trades or no movement clauses?
I can neither confirm or deny that.
I can't confirm or deny.
One thing I've always been curious with the introduction to this segment, who voices, I can neither confirm or deny that. Is that a real clip of JFJ, or is that somebody out back in the back from the production studio?
Like the cartoon one?
I don't know. Like who?
It's the magic of the guys in the booth.
Do we know the answer to that, JP? No, he doesn't.
That would be, I mean, that's probably
old.
A Mull's.
That could be a Mull. Someone fire a text over to Mark Mullen and get the answer. Confirm or deny.
I can neither confirm or deny that.
Like that is who is that? Sounds like our old buddy Tim Haffey, who used to do updates here.
I was going to say
TSN 1050.
Fergie.
Maybe. I don't know.
The Ferg, like our Fergie.
Oh,
not
the legend.
Not the Fergie, but this was it Scott Ferguson?
Scott Ferguson. We love Scott Ferguson here at TSN 1050. Confirm or Deny is brought to you by Summit Ford and South Lake Ford Lincoln. Where there are no trade deadlines, they'll take anything on trades and save you the HST. Visit summitford.com or southlakeford.com. So you guys know how this works. I read a statement, and you either need to confirm it or deny it. Here's the first one. Mr. Feschuk, we'll start with you. Austin Matthews can still score 70 goals this season. He needs 16 in his final 18 games. Do you confirm that or deny it?
I'll deny it. the focus is gone off that. Like it's very clear what they're trying to do here. And look, can he do it? Yes, but should he do it? Will he do it? No, I deny it.
He should do it. He would be good.
No, because it takes away the focus from what they're trying to build here, and what they're trying to build. And there's no better player in the league than to look at on this front than Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid has just put all questions about stats behind him. He's like not talking about stats anymore. He's talking about trying to build a team that's going to win in the playoffs.
Yeah, but I don't think Matthews is out here saying, I want to get to 70, though. Like, I don't think it takes away. If he gets there, I don't think he's like out there saying, I need to do this. If he just happens to get to 70, the team wins.
Well, we've seen a few times this year where they've been feeding him and trying to get him goals, when maybe they should just be trying to score a goal instead of get him a goal. Marner's probably been the guiltiest of that. Look, I'm not saying that that's a huge focus. The focus needs to be on 200-foot hockey, trying to win in the playoffs. And I just don't see this 70. Like, he's cooled off a little bit because the league ratchets up. The defense gets a little better. There's been some sickness running through the room.
Yeah.
I just think that the time is past here. He'd have to go out on an unbelievable heater, and it's the kind of heater you go on earlier in the year.
And Marner, of course, is out Thursday and perhaps longer. That's not going to be advantageous for Matthews in his pursuit for 70. I'm going to deny it as well. House brother?
Yeah, I mean, I'll deny it. I think for him to get to 16 goals in 18 games at this point will be a little bit difficult. I think he's got 2 in his last 7, and
slowed down here a little bit.
Yeah, it has. And if you look at the record, their schedule over the next little bit, they got the 8th hardest schedule moving forward. I think they got 3 back-to-back. So it's a bit of a tough sked down the stretch here for him. So maybe, he looked close. I think 65 is probably now the new benchmark. I think 70 is a little aggressive.
Timothy Liljegren should be in the Maple Leafs lineup if the playoffs started today. Al's brother, do you confirm that or deny it?
Almost Fergie on this one. I feel like I'm
the groan.
I can either confirm or deny that.
Yeah, I guess if they started today, I would deny that he should be in the lineup. If I had to confirm it today. Now, he's got 18 games to change my mind. But what I saw, and if the playoffs start today, they're playing the Boston Bruins, correct?
That's right.
What I saw against him against the Boston Bruins a couple weeks ago, well, a week ago, not even that long ago, leads me to believe that he's not ready. He can't do it. He can't do what would be asked of him. And for those reasons, I don't know if it started today, if I could put him out there. But I would want Simon Benoit. Yeah, I'm going to deny it.
You have to deny it. I mean, he was, to your point, he was a combined -4 in those 2 games against the Bruins, 2 4-1 losses. There was just too many like brain cramp plays where you're just going, what are you doing? Like, you got to protect the front of the net. There's Bruins all over the front of the net, and you're not getting any out of him. Like, there seems to be a lack of confidence. There seems to be a lack of focus that might be tied to that, or maybe it's a lack of self-belief. I don't know what it is. I'm not a sports psychologist. I just know that this guy's not ready for the cauldron, the pressure of the playoffs. And there's also a reason why he was not in the lineup in game 1 of the playoffs last year. And for the very same reason, he cannot be in the lineup in game 1 this year.
It's a fascinating spot the Leafs find themselves in. I'm going to confirm it. I think Liljegren will be in the game 1 lineup for the Leafs because he's a right-handed shot defenseman. And for whatever reason, Tree Living acquired Joel Edmondson, who I think is a really nice piece as a bottom pair guy, but he's a left-handed shot. And there wasn't exactly this bevy of right-handed shots available at the deadline, especially guys who would really fit in to what the Leafs are trying to accomplish. But, I mean, considering the lefty-righty split that the Leafs have, which is very left-handed heavy, they need right shot Ds, and they have Lyubushkin. Jake McCabe's going to play the right side, even though he's a left shot. Mm-hmm. And beyond that, I mean, I don't think they're going to put Simon Benoit on the right side, something he hasn't done very frequently in his NHL career.
Edmondson's played the right.
He has, but
that's the guy who I think they would put him over there.
And maybe they give that a try. I would be stunned if they didn't try it out in the final 18 games of the season.
They will look at it.
They're going to try everything. I almost think the last 18 games are kind of a
trial and error.
Exactly.
We saw it last year. When you make this many moves, you add. They didn't make as many as they did a season ago, where they literally overturned a third of their roster. But when you make enough moves like this, where you got to see, okay, who works with who, you got to figure it out now, so that okay, this works, this doesn't, come game 1 of the playoffs. So you got to figure out, all right, who could Joel Edmondson work with if we get down there, and maybe it's an injury to Liljegren that forces him out, and all of a sudden it's like, well, we only have one healthy right shot defenseman, therefore we got to put someone on the left, or on a left shot on the right. Who could be the best person for that? you'll figure it out over the next 18 games.
Let's get to Matthew Rempe of the New York Rangers, who was suspended for 4 games this afternoon for the elbow to the head of Jonas Siegenthaler last night. The confirm or deny is as follows, gentlemen. Matt Rempe will be out of the National Hockey League by the start of next season if he continues to play with his current reckless abandon. Dave.
Sad to say it, but I'm going to confirm it. I really worry about the track this kid's on. Like, he's putting himself in harm's way too often. He's played a grand total of 10 NHL games. He's averaging 5 minutes a night, and he's leading with his chin in every fight he gets into. Look, I've leaned on a bunch of former enforcers to talk about this kid, and there's real concern in the former enforcer community that this kid is not going to be long for the league if he does not figure out how to protect himself better. It's great to play with reckless abandon. It's great to put your body on the line. It's great to show the kind of enthusiasm and ferociousness he showed. And you don't become famous in New York overnight for nothing. Can't take that away from him. But if you want to stay famous in New York for more than 15 minutes, the proverbial 15 minutes, he's going to have to change the way he approaches things. And I'm not sure if anybody's in his ear telling him that.
It's that he'll be out of the league next season. I'm going to deny it. I'm going to deny it. I think that he's proven, that there is a need for that type of role and that type of player. Like we've seen the Rangers talk about how they wanted to add toughness. It was a couple of years ago where, remember, Pavel Buchnevich got high-sticked and no one did anything. And then there was a big James Dolan came out and said that they ended up firing their GM, if I'm not mistaken, shortly after. Like, they want toughness in this group. And I think Rempe brings that to this team. But also, they're winning games with him in the lineup. It's not like he's costing them games. Like, they're 7-2-1 in the 10 games that he's in the lineup. Sure, is he causing those victories? Is he a reason for it? No. But he's also not the reason for the losses either. So I think he has a chance to stick in the league.
Definitely. I'm going to deny it. It's the Rempire State Building, Mr. Feschuk. Come on. This guy is a entity unto himself. And I think he is... Listen, is he the second coming of Jaromir Jagr? Of course not, but he has a place in the lineup. He's a fourth-line grinder who can dish out massive hits. Imagine how rocking Madison Square Garden will be if the Rangers are playing, I don't know, Carolina, maybe the Leafs in the second round, and Rempe destroys someone on the boards. That place will explode, and I think that's kind of the purpose. And I think you consider, I don't know, a matchup with the Leafs, a matchup with the Bruins, a matchup with the Florida Panthers, who have their fair share of, let's call them scrappy players. You want a guy like Rempe on your roster for the event where something maybe goes a little bit awry.
Look, I hope you're right. I'm just concerned about the guy's longevity.
Well, that is fair. All right, next confirm or deny has to do with Joey Votto, who signed a minor league deal with the Toronto Blue Jays. Confirm or deny, Votto will hit at least 10 home runs for the Blue Jays this season. He has done so in 9 straight seasons. DeStefano.
Is he going to be on this roster? Is he going to be on the team? Is he going to make it? And is he going to get enough bats for that to happen? What do you have last year? 14 home runs last season. I'm going to deny
limited
it.
At bats.
But, like, is he going to get that many at bats this year?
Yeah.
I don't know. And the odds of him improving from age 39 to 40 are quite low. Like, I would love to be wrong on this, but I'm going to deny it. I think it's a cool story, but we'll see how it shakes out. But I'm not too high on him being a extremely productive piece of this team.
I'm going to confirm it.
Yes.
I admit to a soft spot for Joey Votto.
I love Joey Votto.
I mean, he's a great guy, great interview, one of the great athletes in Canadian history. I mean,
that's not hyperbole at all.
It's not. It's what, to me, baseball hitting is, if not the hardest, one of the hardest skills to perfect. And he's right up there with, he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, and, right up there with Larry Walker as our greatest baseball player.
Fergie Jenkins is
a pitcher, obviously. Yeah, Fergie stands alone as a pitcher, obviously. As a hitter, he's up there with Larry Walker. And I just feel like I was shocked that nobody took him on to begin training camp. I thought it was, I felt for him that he was missing the game as much as he was. I don't think you can, knowing the number of pro athletes we've come across who do it as a job, don't really love it, they're just good at it. This guy loves the game so much. I don't think you can put a price on that. And I think it carry, even though you're 40, even though your bat speed's not what it was, even though you're not what you were as an athlete, I think that love, enthusiasm, commitment, it can carry you.
And he's apparently possible for the lineup tomorrow. So we might see him get at bats down for the Blue Jays in spring training as early as tomorrow. And he's really just competing at direct competition with Vogelback, right?
Yeah.
Both are on minor league deals. Both are left-handed bats off the bench. And that's it. But if Votto can acquit himself well over the next couple weeks here, it'd be a hell of a story, and there'd be a lot of content we could derive from it. So I'm here for it.
I will say this: we're talking home runs. If you take out the outlier year a couple of seasons ago where he had 36 bombs in 2021, the 5 years outside of that since 2018, he's averaging just 12.6 home runs per season. So that's he would have to do a little bit more, I think, this year.
It's a tall ask, and I think the role he had in Cincinnati for the 17 season certainly.
Right, we're talking 500 at bats,
exactly.
500, 180, I guess.
It'll be
400 at bats. Yeah, hopefully it happens.
I'm still confirming it though.
Need a little magic. I mean, you see that picture of him in the Blue Jays bib when he was a little baby. There's
John Tavares-esque.
I'm going to put a little bit of magic at play here, House brother. It's not all about the analytics, but
here's how we make it happen.
Yeah.
I just don't see it happening, fellas.
There it is.
Bet the over now on Votto.
Reverse Al's brother curse on Joey Votto, who may join this program later this week. We're efforting that one. Last, confirm or deny. And we'll go to the National Football League. Neither of the Atlanta Falcons or the Pittsburgh Steelers will make the postseason this coming NFL season. Confirm or deny?
Deny. I couldn't deny this anymore. The Falcons, I think, with the addition of Kirk Cousins, they're now in the driver's seat to win that division. I mean, they were competitive last year with Heineke and Desmond Ridder, and those two are not very good quarterbacks. You had a legitimate player, and like we talked about earlier with Randy Mueller, whether you call him a top 15, top 12, top 10, whatever, he is a starting quarterback who can win you football games, and especially in the regular season. You can talk about what he's done in the playoffs, maybe not successful, but if you want a quarterback to get you into the playoffs, Kirk Cousins, along with the rest of the cast on that roster, to me, certainly should do that. So I'm going to deny it. I think the Falcons for sure. And look, never count out Mike Tomlin's Pittsburgh Steelers ever. So I think there's a stronger chance both teams make the postseason than neither of these teams.
That is a take right there.
You know what? Al's brother, you're making a lot of sense, and I'm with you. And I don't want to sound so shocked.
Clip that.
I don't want to sound as shocked as I am.
Play it at my wedding.
I'm trying to hide the shock. But you're right. I completely agree with you. The Kirk Cousins stuff, you're right. You can't count on primetime Kirk to win you a playoff game, but you can count on primetime Kirk to get you to a playoff game, so long as you don't play too many primetime games.
Atlanta, I don't see them as a squad that's going to get a lot of primetime games.
To be fair, he has kind of shaken that lately. He's been better in primetime more recently than he was early in his career. Yeah. But, man, the undervalued story, I feel like, is Mike Tomlin in a contract year. He's in the final year of the deal, right? And that guy's been a playoff machine. I mean, no matter who his quarterback's been, no matter what his rosters look like, he finds a way to stay in games and stay in the playoff hunt. And I would just not want to bet against them.
Yeah, I mean, healthy Joe Burrow back in Cincinnati, who have been linked. There have been rumors online that Cincinnati has been making a play for Justin Jefferson from Minnesota to reunite. Think about all the LSU that could go on.
You get Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson with Joe Burrow.
No, that would be absolutely disgusting.
God.
T. Higgins requesting the trade. That's kind of the first part. Jefferson has kind of been loosely linked to trade rumors as well all offseason. Minnesota signing Sam Darnold. They're not doing anything with Sam Darnold at quarterback this year in Minnesota, and their defense still stinks.
Move up in the draft where they want to move all the way up to grab Drake May, J.J. McCarthy. But regardless,
wouldn't that be something? Burrow, Chase, Jefferson would be absolutely filthy. Reuniting the 2019 LSU team,
unfair.
Right? Where Burrow had 61 touchdown passes that year.
Well, the problem is, will Burrow stay in the game? Will Burrow stay healthy? He's healthy now, but wait 5 minutes.
That's right. Wow, Dave, come on. Joe Burrow. I
love the guy, but he just can't stay healthy.
Burrow. Yeah, that's true. Well, he had that wrist problem. He's had the knee problems in the past. Hopefully a very healthy year for Burrow. And that AFC North, What a gauntlet that they've got going on.
So you're saying you don't think the Steelers are going to make it? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't think the Steelers are going to make it. Definitely not. But I think the Atlanta Falcons will. So I will deny it. Or will I confirm it? I can't recall now. It's been so long since we
You will deny it.
I will deny it.
Neither was the confirm or deny.
Yes.
So.
Okay, there you go. Well, confirm or deny was brought to you by Summit Ford and South Lake Ford Lincoln, where there are no trade deadlines. They'll take anything on trade and save you the HST. Visit summitford.com or southlakeford.com. I can confirm that Ben Verlander from Fox Sports, one of their MLB analysts, will join us on the other side. We'll get into Joey Votto, his thoughts on the Blue Jays, and we need to ask him about Gerrit Cole, who's going for second and third opinions.
Never a good sign.
On that injured elbow. Dicey times for the Yankees in a major, major way. Hour 3 of First Up continues here on TSN 1050 and TSN 2. We'll talk to Ben Verlander, almost got his name wrong, from Fox Sports, an MLB analyst, in just a moment. And on the subject of getting names wrong, as I was throwing a break here. By the way, I'm Aaron Korolnek. That's Dave Feschuk. That's Mike DiStefano. I usually host a show called First Up here on TSN 1050 with our good friend Carlo Koliakovo. So sometimes when you're doing a different show, and you're throwing a break, maybe reintroducing the show, you get the name wrong. And here's what happened about 5 minutes ago. Hour 3 of First Up continues here on TSN 1050 and TSN 2. Wrong. I'm sure our bosses right now, Jeff McDonald, Ken Vold, and Stephanie Appolita, are like, why do we put this buffoon in this role? Can't even get the name of the show correct. That's really the primary responsibility I have.
Coming in and out of segment.
What is the show called? And I couldn't even. First Up continues. All right, you guys can delete that one. That one, that's a tough one. You know, I did have a Rafalski moment yesterday. Now can't get the show name correct. I wonder what tomorrow holds.
You know, it's a tough gig. Like I've been in that chair. You know, I know what it's like. It is a tough gig, and especially like Hazy B's just the best in the biz. So try to follow up. Hayes.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's tough.
I used to be his intern. I learned everything I know from Brian Hayes, so that's it. And apparently
forgot some of it.
I forgot most of it, about 100% of it. Ben Verlander, again, coming up in just a moment. This Gerrit Cole story is really significant. Mm-hmm. Think about what an absolute beast he was last year for the Yankees. And those games against the Blue Jays, seemingly every single time he went up against the Jays, it was 8 shutout innings, 10 Ks, and he's got some MRIs ongoing with this elbow, and I mean, he's not going to be ready to start the season. That's obvious. But what happens if Gerrit Cole is out long term? Let's go to the phones now to welcome in Ben Verlander from the Flippin Bats podcast to answer that question and much more. What's up, Ben?
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. Gerrit Cole, the elbow. If you were a Yankee fan, how concerned would you be?
Extremely. It's never, ever good. Look, we're, 2 weeks away from the season starting, roughly. And look, I mean, I don't see a world in which best case scenario is a good thing. I mean, I don't see him pitching opening day. You know, we're 2 weeks out and the guy, your star pitcher, probably the best pitcher in baseball, is getting an MRI on his pitching elbow. I mean, it's the last thing you want to hear. Hopefully it's not what everybody is fearing, but hearing, you know, speculation that they're getting a second and third opinion on an MRI, I don't know, that doesn't seem good to me either. So I don't know. It's starting to feel like best case scenario is this MRI comes back clean. They shut him down for a little while and he misses, the beginning of the season. But I would be very, very concerned at this point if I'm a Yankees fan.
Ben, let's work under the assumption that Cole misses some time to start the beginning of this regular season. Do you think that opens up the door, the possibility of someone like Blake Snell or Jordan Montgomery becoming New York Yankees?
Yeah, I think it has to. You know, like you only have Juan Soto for 1 year, like for sure. You have him for 1 year. So your window of opportunity is right now. I feel like for years, everybody was begging the Yankees. I mean, Yankees fans were begging to surround Cole and Judge with real talent, you know, like not, and by that I mean what the Yankees used to do. You know, recently they wanted to add a starting pitcher via the trade market and went out and got Frankie Montas instead of Luis Castillo, which was at the time, I know it didn't work out injury-wise, but the second best option. And that's not the Yankees that we had all become accustomed to knowing from years and years ago. So it finally felt like this offseason they made the move that the New York Yankees are known to make, and it's going out and getting the best guy available, and that's Juan Soto. And they did it, and they gave up a lot to do it for only 1 year. So officially, I know they could possibly re-sign him, but you gave up a lot to get 1 year of a player. So if you're going to do that, like this season is all in for the New York Yankees. And if Cole is out, or even if he isn't, I don't see a world in which Blake Snell doesn't add so much to that rotation. And if Gerrit Cole is out, it almost feels like their hand is forced, and they absolutely have to do it, or else you almost traded. If they don't have an ace of a staff, they're not a World Series winning team. So it almost feels like you have to go get a guy like Blake Snell. And maybe he just leveraged himself into a lot more money.
I mean, if this isn't what prompts these two, these players to come off the market, like what the hell else really would need to happen for Blake Snell and Montgomery to sign a contract?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It almost felt like for a while it's like, okay, it's getting pretty close to the season. What are you waiting for? And not in terms of what you know what they're waiting for. They don't feel like they're getting the money that they deserve out there right now. But it just felt like, okay, we'll wait until an opening becomes apparent. Well, this is the most apparent opening that you could have possibly gotten, and we'll see what comes of it. But yeah, I mean, I don't see a world in which if this MRI doesn't come back squeaky clean, that one of the two of these guys is not a New York Yankee.
Okay, Ben, we need an opinion on this from outside the Toronto market because we admit a bit of a sentimental attachment to a ball player by the name of Joey Votto. Obviously, he's been, Canada's best player of this era. He's been Canada's Athlete of the Year, Ben. I mean, but he's 40 years old in Blue Jays camp on a minor league deal. With your neutral 30,000 feet opinion, knowing what you know about Joey Votto, what are the chances he can make a meaningful contribution to a Major League Baseball team this season?
I really do believe that, and I don't just want to come on here and plug something of mine, but to be honest, I think it's very pertinent. I had Joey Votto on my show Flippin Bats 2 days ago, or just a couple days ago. It was right before he signed, and that guy is special, and he's going to add something to a team that anybody could use. And it was really interesting talking to him because he says a lot of funny things and silly things, and he's a great guy. But he really got into one thing specifically when he said, "Look, I'm at a point in my career. I have no need to be anything other than candid." And he goes, "I was healthy enough to play last year, but I wasn't healthy enough to swing the bat the way I wanted to." And he really started talking about his shoulder and the slot that he feels he needs to get into and has always been able to get into to be able to hit well. And he just, was motioning while it was one of the coolest conversations I've ever had on my show. And he was just motioning the way he needs to swing and just said he wasn't to a point with his shoulder recovery where he was able to get to where he needed to with his swing. And he said, the game of baseball will tell me when I'm done. And it hasn't told me that. And he feels like he can be a big time producer for a team right now and this year. And obviously a leader on a team. I think Toronto is the perfect fit for so many reasons. One, because of the obvious geographical location, and it being his childhood team. And two, it's a team that I think needs some left-handed bats. And is he going to make the opening day roster? Well, I don't know, but I do think he can really, really be a big factor for that team this year, both in the locker room as a leader and on the field. I think he's healthy and feeling good, and I think he can make a big difference.
Ben Verlander is our guest from Fox Sports. He's the host of the Flippin Bats podcast. Ben, where do you think the Toronto Blue Jays rank in the AL East right now? Do you have them maybe up there with the Yankees, maybe with the Orioles, or maybe they're just a step behind?
I've felt like this for a couple off seasons in a row now. I feel like the team is ready to win, and I don't know. I just feel like they're not making the move that I think puts them over the top. I think they've continued to make the move that makes them good, not great. I think their rotation is going to make them competitive and a potential playoff team every year as of right now with how good it is. I really like the pitching rotation. Honestly, whether Manoah is the Cy Young for Manoah or not, that's how good that rotation is. He adds another level if he is as good as he showed when he first came up. But offensively, we hear the rumors all offseason of the Blue Jays. It pretty much is down to the Blue Jays and the Dodgers for Shohei Ohtani. And you're thinking, oh, my God, imagine Shohei in Toronto playing for that team in that lineup. He's the left-handed bat they need. He's one of the greatest players of all time. And then they don't do it, or it doesn't happen. And then what? Like, what's the other big, flashy, sexy move that Toronto was willing and ready to make? And it just doesn't. It feels like they continue to make moves that make them good, not great. So I guess my roundabout answer to your question is, in that division, I'm slotting them in right around that, I don't know, 2 or 3 spot feels good right now. And that's largely, I do think it's a big difference with whether Gerrit Cole is in or healthy or not, but I would feel comfortable slotting them in right there around 2 or 3 in the AL East.
Well, speaking of the biggest story of the offseason, Ben, Shohei Ohtani, I mean, how good can this guy be in a year where he's not going to be pitching? I mean, do you believe that he can deliver at the plate in a meaningful way, in the same, not meaningful, in a elite, transcendent way, certainly the way he's being paid without the arm as a weapon?
Yeah, I was going to say, certainly meaningful. I have 40 and an OPS over 1,000 and a batting average over 300 last year is pretty meaningful to anybody.
Not bad.
I think this year, I do think we're going to see a little bit different of a Shohei on the offensive side of the ball this year, just because he's not pitching. And obviously, if he can put up the numbers he did last year, which would, I'm going to pencil him in if he's healthy for over 100 RBIs for sure. I mean, the lineup he's in this year is remarkable, and he's always going to come up with guys on base and good protection behind him. So I think that's an immediate boost. But I really think we're going to see him run a lot more this year. Every time I hear a player talk about Shohei, everybody says the same thing. We know Shohei the pitcher. We know how much power the guy has. We know how good he is offensively. But everyone says, I am so shocked by how fast he is. He's one of the fastest guys in baseball. And I really do think him doing both hinders him from running a bit on the bases. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see another 40, 50 homer season out of the guy with a lot more stolen bases than we're used to seeing. I really think we could be in store for a potential 40-40 season from Shohei.
Wow, that's going to be a lot of fun. We saw Acuna Jr. do that last year. Imagine Otani gets to that level as well. That'd be a lot of fun.
Jotting that down ahead of my fantasy baseball drafts.
40-40. Pencil it in. Put it in pen. Ben, thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate your time.
Of course, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right. That's Ben Verlander from Fox Sports, host of the Flippin Bats podcast. Imagine how different the lead up to the Blue Jays season. You guys know exactly where I'm going.
He ripped open old wounds.
I know.
We
can't talk about Kawhi leaving, and we can't talk about Otani and the flight that never was, and the press conference that never was, and the sushi restaurant that was rented out that never was.
Kikuchi has set that record straight. He never rented out a sushi restaurant for 50 people.
I know. I think that may have originated on my show when we read a text out that was the case. Some guy said, I've heard, and we read that out, and people took that and ran with it.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a dark morning.
That was
kind
an
of like those Kawhi real estate reports you guys.
Yeah, that was Landsberg. That wasn't me. That was Landsberg. Kawhi Leonard has bought a house, and there's a pardon the interruption clip with Wilbon and Kornheiser where they led the show with Michael Landsberg's real estate report on Kawhi Leonard. That's a thing that actually happened.
Wow.
Well,
on ESPN.
Kawhi's probably got lots of real estate. Who's to say he didn't buy a house?
I appreciate the optimism. Sticking up for our man, Michael Landsberg. I love it. Coming up on the other side, best bets powered by FanDuel. They're back. I'll tell you what my 3 favorite plays are on OverDrive here on TSN 1050, TSN 2. All right, the final segment here on Tuesday afternoon. You're listening and watching OverDrive. It's time now for today's best bets. They are powered by FanDuel. Bet on your favorite teams and players on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. All right, I got 3 plays I love. starting with the Philadelphia Flyers, who I saw firsthand get absolutely shellacked by the Tampa Bay Lightning on Saturday night. More on that in just a moment. I think the Flyers destroy San Jose at home tonight. No Tortorella. Puck line, Al's brother. Puck line, -110. I'm also taking the over of 6 goals between Seattle and Vegas this evening. The over 8-1 in the last 9 games for the Golden Knights. 6-3 of the last 9 games for the Seattle Kraken. And Jake Gensel's Carolina debut tonight. 4+ shots. In his press conference, introductory press conference, he said his goal was to shoot the puck as much as possible. That starts tonight.
What's that pay?
That pays a number that I will work on in just a moment for you. Same game parlays are now available for every NHL game on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly, 19+ and physically located in Ontario, plus 560. That one pays on FanDuel. Had the heartbreak of all heartbreaks on Saturday night.
Okay.
When it comes to betting on FanDuel. I'm down in South Florida, Tampa Bay, go to Amalie Arena with 3 of my buddies. We're on a golf trip. Of course, I mean, you guys know me. You got to have some kind of group same game parlay if you're going to a game.
Yeah.
When I went to New York to see the Chiefs and the Jets in October, we had a massive same game parlay that lost by, I think, 5 Justin Watson receiving yards. So this time around, our same game parlay revolved around a big night for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They scored 7 goals. In the arena, the 6th goal was scored by Victor Hedman, assist to Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov. We cashed the bet. Kucherov goes over 1.5. We are celebrating. This was a 5-figure win, by the way. So we're going insane.
5 figures.
Insane. We're having the time of our lives. We go to the bar. We're buying shots for random people. We are just celebrating the jubilation at an all-time high.
Oh, no.
Do you guys know where the story is going?
No, of
Stat
course.
correction.
The
Central,
old stat
buddy.
correction.
League office.
Thank you very much, Gary Bettman, because one of my buddies looks at his phone with some significant concern as we are ordering another round of celebratory shots, I may add.
Cancel the round.
And he's like, guys, I'm seeing that Darren Radish has the 2nd assist on the Hedman goal.
Well, he had to get 5 assists in the game to break the record.
Yeah, he certainly did. Thanks a lot, Darren Radish. Perhaps the biggest buzzkill in human history. 4 men that were riding the high of all highs have sunk into the floor with sadness. And we just sat there speechless and then just continued to refresh tsn.ca nonstop in hopes that maybe they would reassign the assist to Nikita Kucherov.
But no.
Albeit that is not the case.
That's
the worst beat I can recall since Chad Kelly screwed my FanDuel account in the East Final. But we still love you, Chad. We still love you, Chad. The Argos big year coming up in June. Can't wait.
They're doing that a lot. Like you see them, they correct like the shots on goal total.
Oh yeah.
Well, you're seeing it live in the game, like you're watching. All of a sudden, Toronto will have 8 shots, and then you come back from a commercial break and they have 4. It's like, what the heck happened? How'd they lose 4 shots?
Who's in charge of that, by the way?
I don't know.
There are shot counters.
Shot counter. Is that like a
staff?
role?
There's a stats staff at every game.
Okay. And they travel around.
No, they're all local. They all like the guys that do.
How do you get that job? Al's brother. We had to look into that role.
Right.
We got to find out.
Wow, Matthews a lot of shots on goal tonight.
Yeah, you guys would be banned from the booth.
Zero integrity, like
gambling scandal.
So, do you think those people who are shot counters are allowed to wager on the National Hockey League?
I would think not.
I would imagine no.
How would you? I guess like the NFL, it's Calvin Ridley style.
That's right.
Can't be doing that.
Interesting.
Can't be doing that. I don't want to let you know who these people are.
Yes, please.
You can't get to
Can I submit my resume to at NHL at Gary Bettman at NHL.com?
You have to do it. Just chum up with whoever the stat counters are. And just send a little text.
Like, hey,
I need a stat correction. You sure?
I think Timothy Liljegren over 1.5 shots on goal might be the play tonight. And the stat counter's like, I agree.
Well, what's so bizarre is if you go back and you look at the stats for shots on goal in certain arenas, it varies.
Absolutely.
From arena to arena to arena. So depending on who the stat counter is, it's insane. Which goes back to the whole, the fact that we bet on these sports is hilarious because it really is how's the person counting the stats feeling that night when it comes to hits or shots.
Be generous. The shots on goal.
Is it the Montreal shot counter where it's pretty generous up there, I think?
Yeah, there's different ones, right? I mean, it is kind of subjective, right? Was that going to go in the net if the goalie didn't touch it? I mean, that's the question, right? There's a lot of those shots. If he gloves it and it was going wide, do you still give him a shot on goal? Do you give him a save, or do you say, no, that was going wide, it's not an actual save?
Yeah.
It's not an easy call.
It's very sad. One of my friends even committed to naming his next child Nikita.
Wow.
In honor of Nikita Kucherov. Fortunately for him, he does not need to do that.
Won't be calling him Radish.
No. Yes, Cooch. Or we'll come up with a different name. Cooch probably not a good name for the child. Nikita would be good, but yeah, unfortunately, it's just utter devastation. But it's been a great show today, gentlemen. We've had a blast. We've covered a lot of ground. The NFL, the Leafs, who seemingly have been off forever, they're back in action on Thursday against the Flyers, who again will be without John Tortorella. And these are crucial games for the Flyers, whose playoff spot is a little bit in peril here. The Islanders, I know they lost last night, but they're coming. Detroit, Tampa, they'll still be there. So
I'm worried
it's going to be a really good pace.
I'm worried about Detroit.
Mike Johnson, not so worried about Detroit.
5 losses in a row. I mean, that's
I was looking
worrisome.
at their expected goals is worse than the Anaheim Ducks this season.
This season as a whole? How's that possible?
They rank 29th in the NHL.
What does that say about that stat?
That means that they're losing their minutes. Like they're getting really good goaltending and getting some lucky bounces is what that tells me.
Wow.
They should not be where they are, and that's why I'd be worried down the stretch and why this last 5 games makes more sense.
Steve Yzerman on line 1, House brother. He is not a fan of what you are saying. Yes, this is me, House brother. Dave, it's been a blast. Michael, fantastic work. I will be back tomorrow. Jamie McLennan, Jason Strudwick with me. It's going to be quite the show. 4 p.m.
We'll chat then.